Alright guys, what's going on? Back again with another video on YouTube. This will be my second video going up. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my past and growing up, how I grew up, where I came from, and how I was raised and whatnot. Just to give y'all a little background history on who I am as a person, who I was before, and who I am today. So I was born in Savannah, Georgia. I was born at Hunter Army Airfield. I come from a military family. Both my parents were in the military, my uncles were in the military, my aunts were in the military, even my grandmother was in the military. Almost everybody in my family served in the Army or served in some branch of the military at some point in their life. So I guess you could say I was destined to join the Army. As you can see, I cleaned up a little bit since the last time I posted a video. I'm a lot cleaner. I got a cut going on somewhat. I'm somewhat looking a little bit decent today. But anyway, back to the story. So my parents met in Georgia. That's where I was conceived and where I was made. Don't ask me the details, don't really know. But anyway, I was born in Georgia. We moved to Seattle, Washington. My dad was stationed at Fort Lewis in Washington State. And my mom ended up moving me and her to live with my grandmother in Maryland when I was 2. Now, I don't know why. My mom would always tell me that I guess my dad would abuse me a lot at the age of 2. I don't really know how you can, well, I know how you can abuse a child at the age of 2, but I don't really know the details of what my father did or anything like that, because I don't remember and she wouldn't tell me. But she just said that my dad would abuse me, so she got tired of it, and she split up. They didn't get divorced, but they split up for a couple years. We stayed with my grandmother for about 3 years in Maryland, and then my parents ended up getting back together. Now, my dad was in Germany at the time when they got back together, so we moved to Germany with my dad. Now, Germany was awesome. I was in Germany from kindergarten to beginning of 3rd grade. Germany was awesome. I loved it in Germany. I loved the food. I loved the culture. Germany was amazing. If I could go back to Germany, I would definitely go back to Germany because it was awesome. Like, there's so much stuff you could do there. I never got to experience Oktoberfest as an adult. That sucks, but hey, maybe I'll be able to do it one day. But yeah, we were in Germany. I started kindergarten there, and all the way up till the beginning of the 3rd grade. Now, besides Germany being cool as a kid, it was kind of rough because, again, my parents would still fight. I started realizing how my dad would abuse me, because at one point my dad would he would like sit on my face with a pillow and whatnot and like suffocate me. I understand discipline, and a lot of people are like when I tell this story, a lot of people will be like, oh, that's discipline. I understand discipline. I understand the difference between discipline. I'm getting ready to have a child of my own, so I understand the difference between discipline and abuse. There's a very, very thin line. You can discipline your child, but when you start losing control, there's a problem. All right. So I wasn't the perfect kid growing up. I wasn't always getting straight A's. I wasn't always, I wasn't always staying out of trouble and whatnot. I was always in trouble. I was always doing something bad. So yes, I deserve to be disciplined. I'm not gonna lie. I deserve to be disciplined. A lot of the stuff that happened to me, I had coming. But when you start kicking your child downstairs and whatnot, and punching him, and this is at a young age. This is like 5 to 7 years old. You shouldn't be doing that to a kid like that. You shouldn't be doing that. I'm not knocking my dad. I'm not. Because although me and my dad never had that father-son type relationship growing up, my father has taught me a lot of life lessons. He has taught me a lot of things. And it's weird because my dad basically taught me everything I wasn't supposed to do as a father or as a man by his actions. His actions taught me to be the opposite. My dad would, well, both my parents would cheat on each other. My dad would cheat on my mom, and then when my dad would get deployed, my mom would cheat on my dad. So they would do tit for tat. They would always fight and argue and cuss at each other. Like I said, I was a troublemaker. I was constantly getting kicked out of school for fighting. I had no respect for authority growing up. When I was at that age, I had no respect whatsoever for authority. And so a lot of the times that I would be disciplined, I deserved it. Like I said, a lot of times my dad would tell my mom, "Hey, take a walk and come back in about 30 minutes." Times like that, I'm not gonna tell you what he did. Some of the things he did was uncalled for. Some of the ways that he went about it was uncalled for. But hey, it's discipline. Now, moving on from Germany, we moved to Texas. We were at Fort Bliss in Texas, and that was no better. Again, my parents were still cheating on each other. My parents ended up splitting up again. They got back together after about 2 months or a month or so. I was in Texas from third grade to fifth grade, end of fifth grade, beginning of fifth grade, I want to say. Beginning or end of fifth grade, I can't remember. We were in Fort Bliss, Texas. I went to a school called Dr. Nixon Elementary. I think that school's torn down now. I don't know. But I went to that school, and again, kicked out for fighting, always suspended for fighting, always constant in-school suspension. I even went to an alternative school twice while I was there because I was always getting kicked out of school. So yes, I was a troublemaker for my parents. I was always causing some type of trouble. It even got so bad to where my mom would even almost lose her job because she had to keep coming to pick me up from school or pick me up from daycare or whatever because I was acting a fool. I was not the greatest kid growing up. I will say that right now. I was not the greatest kid growing up. But again, you live and you learn. And I've learned a lot. And I'm praying because my mom has always told me, hey, as much heartache as you gave me, your child's gonna give you 10 times, gonna be 10 times worse. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting ready to have a son now, so I'm praying. I'm praying that I am blessed and that my son does not give me nearly as much headache that I gave my parents growing up. Cause I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself. Cause I was off the chain, like off the chain. Like I was one of those kids that deserved to be on the Beyond Scared Straight show. That's how bad I was. I was probably worse than them. Like that's how bad I was. But so yeah, and the abuse from my dad didn't get any better. At this point, it wasn't so much physical abuse. It was more verbal abuse. More things like calling me like a bitch and stuff like that, motherfucker and stuff like that. Calling me a nigga and whatnot. Just basic name, like downing me all the time, telling me I'd either end up in jail or dead, or I'm never gonna amount to nothing, or I was a disgrace to his family and stuff like that. And I could understand my dad's frustration, cause my dad is still in the military, and my dad wasn't raised how I was. I guess you could say, like my dad knew, okay, I'm afraid of my parents. If I do wrong, this is gonna happen to me. I wasn't raised like that. So I could understand now. I understand my dad's frustration, but the way he went about it was a little wrong, as far as like expressing his frustration. And it only got worse. The older I got, the worse it got. Because again, I was still getting in trouble. I mean, the amount of trouble that I was getting into was a little different. I was no longer fighting anymore. It was more like, hey, teacher, can I use the bathroom? Once I hit high school, teacher, can I use the bathroom? Teacher tells you no. I got to use the bathroom really bad, so I'm going to just get up and go. You're not going to tell me no. If I have to use the bathroom, I'm going to go. So, and it'd be stuff like that, getting in trouble for stupid stuff like that, having my phone out during class and stuff like that. Like stupid stuff. Basic, dumb high school issues that I would have. And like I said, me and my dad just never had that father-son connection. So we would always argue, always fight. We even started fist fighting and stuff like that. And my parents, even my parents, their fighting still got worse. It never got better. Their marriage never got better. They stopped cheating on each other, but the arguing and the cussing at each other never got any better. They were always fighting. And I remember one time, it was my birthday, and I remember my parents yelling at each other, and they were screaming at each other and cussing at each other. and my dad had gotten in my mom's face, and it looked like he was about to hit her. My dad, he didn't hit her, but it looked like he was about to hit her. And I told my dad, I think I was 15 years old, 14 or 15, I turned that day. And I told my dad, I said, if you ever touch my mom, or if you ever hit my mom or put your hands on my mom, I will fucking kill you. I told my dad that. I told him, I said straight up, I told him, I said, if you ever hit my mom, I will fucking kill you. And I was wrong, but I was looking out for my mom. Like I'm never gonna let anybody put their hands on my mom. That's me. I would never let anybody down my mom, let anybody talk bad about my mom. Never. When it comes to my mom, I'm very protective. I'm very protective of my sister, my mom, and my grandmother, and my girlfriend, and my child. I'm very protective of them. And I lost it that day. And we started fighting. We fought. And that became a normal routine for me and my dad. We would always fight, like like throw hands. And it was bad growing up. And and I'm not saying all of it was his fault. Like I said, I wasn't the best kid growing up. I wasn't the nicest, or I guess you could say the most disciplined kid growing up. So a lot of it was my fault. But our situations could have been handled differently, you know what I mean? But unfortunately they weren't. But they made those events growing up made me who I am today. And I remember all I ever wanted growing up was to be close to my dad, I guess. I've always wanted, like, growing up, I never heard my dad say that he was proud of me. Part of that was my fault because I was always getting into trouble. I never did anything worth being told that, you know what I mean? But I always wanted to be told that. I always wanted my dad to tell me, son, I'm proud of you. Or, son, you know what? I love you. Son, you make me proud. I never heard that growing up. I never heard that. So it was like my dad was there financially. He was there for me. He gave me food. He gave me clothes on my back. He did all the basic responsibilities a father is supposed to do. But as far as being there mentally, my dad wasn't there. Me and my dad didn't have that connection. And that's all I ever wanted growing up. I never got that. And it didn't happen until I left for basic training. I graduated high school in 2016. And I left for basic training. And when I got on that bus, I told my dad, I said, I don't ever want to see you again. Ever. I never want to see you again. You will forget who I am. I won't go to your funeral if you die. I will never call you. I don't want you to ever call me. If I have kids, you will never know who they are. You will never know if I get married or anything like that. You will forget who I am. You will forget you even had a second son, because I have a little brother too. I told him, you forget who I am, and I'll forget who you are. If I see you on the streets, if I walk past you, I won't even say hi. You will forget who I am. And so yeah, and I got on the bus and I left. I got a letter when I was in basic training, and I had joined the Army, by the way. And I got a letter when I was in basic training, and I saw it was from my dad. Didn't even bother opening it up. Ripped it up, threw it in the trash. I got a letter from my mom, and that letter said, hey, your dad sent you a letter. Did you read it? If you didn't, or I hope you did, because when he was writing it, he was crying. And I was like, as I'm reading this, I'm thinking to myself, why would my dad be crying while writing a letter? Like, my dad doesn't cry. Like, that's not my dad. My dad ain't no bitch. He ain't gonna, the fuck is he gonna cry for? So I wrote my mom back. I told her, I was like, no, I didn't read the letter, but I don't really care about that. I said what I had to say to him before I left, and that's that. So I got another letter from my dad. This one I kept. I didn't open it, but I kept it. And I got a letter from my mom, and I opened that letter, and it said, your father sent you another letter, and he was crying during this one again. I hope you read it, and I hope that God puts your heart at peace and is able to rebuild you guys up. It wasn't until I had 3 weeks left of basic training that I opened that letter. And in that letter, it started off, I'll never forget. That letter started off with, hello, son. I love you. And I broke down. I'm sitting in my bunk, and I'm sitting here crying because I've never heard my dad call me son. and I've never heard my dad tell me he loved me. And I just sat there and I cried, and the letter kept going. I know you didn't want to hear from me ever again, but I wanted to apologize to you for how I treated you growing up and how we were growing up. It basically was an apology letter saying he was sorry for us not having that fatherly connection growing up and stuff like that. God, it's getting hot in here. And I accepted it. I accepted that apology because I needed that. And I prayed about it. I got really close to God when I was in basic 2. And I was praying, and I was like, God, just give me a sign. All I want to hear, I just want to make my dad proud now. That's all I want to do. I know we can't make up for the years in the past, but maybe this is a new start. Maybe we can start something fresh. You know what I mean? Maybe me and my dad can move forward now. So, and that's what happened. On graduation day, I wasn't expecting my dad to be there. But he was the first person I saw sitting in the bleachers. I'm standing in formation out on the parade field, and I seen my dad sitting in the bleachers with his Carolina jacket on, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, yo, that's my dad. Like, my dad's actually here. Like, what? This is crazy. Like, I wasn't expecting him to be there. And he was there. And then they did all right, you can go meet your soldiers. So my dad and my mom, my grandmother, they all came running down to meet me. And my dad's looking for me. And we weren't allowed to move in formation until our family came to meet us. So I'm standing there at parade rest, and I'm watching my dad look for me. And then my dad looked at me, and he looked away, and then he stopped. And he looked back. And he was like, oh my God, that's my son. And I was like, and I'm crying. I'm like slowly crying, starting to cry. And my dad like took off running, like he darted for me. I've never seen my dad run so fast in my life. But my dad took off and gave me the biggest hug ever. And I was like, and I've never even hugged my dad. This was the very first time I hugged my dad. Here I am, 18 years old, hugging my dad for the first time that in forever that I can remember. And I'm crying and I'm breaking down, and I'm like, because I've never felt this before. You know what I mean? I've never felt that love between me and my dad. I've never felt that love from my dad. And I heard my dad tell me, I'm proud of you. Son, I am so proud of you. I am extremely proud of you. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything that happened between us while you were growing up. And I just want to start over. I hope we can move forward. And I'm just so proud of you. And I'm sitting here crying because these are words I've always wanted to hear. I've always wanted to make my dad proud. I've always wanted to hear that he was proud of me and stuff. And I finally got it. And my prayers were finally answered. And that was like the happiest day of my life. And I was shocked. And I was just so happy because I finally was able to have that connection with my dad. And we're doing better now. I mean, we talk on a daily basis. I'm not home anymore, but we talk every now and then on the phone and whatnot. And but yeah, that's just a little history of me. So I hope I didn't bore you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully I'll have this uploaded either today or tomorrow. So yeah, it's just a little background story of me. I'll have another video uploaded either end of this week or next week. I try to do one video a week, so because I just started off, so I'm gonna try to do one video a week, and as the more popular I get or the more views that I get, I'll start uploading a little bit more videos. Try probably 2 videos a week, but for now I'm gonna stick to 1 video. Anyway, this video is getting kind of long. It's almost 20 minutes long, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off right here. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe now. Hit that like button. Also leave a comment, whatever you like about this video, didn't like about this video. Any feedback is good feedback for me. So go ahead and leave a comment, subscribe, and like this video. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace.